Rev up your engines!
Well, it looks like auto executives are losing faith in electric cars, battery electric cars specifically. Now, they said by 2030, this is in the past, we're all going to make electric cars and 62% of the cars we sell are going to be electric. Well, now they're scaling it back and saying 37% by 2030, right? You know, that's what, 8 years down the line? Who knows? By then, maybe it'll be 2%. With the macroeconomic forces going on, people don't have the money to buy these expensive electric cars. As it stands today, an average electric car is over 65 grand. The average gasoline car is 48,000. So you're almost talking about $20,000 difference. And money is tight for most people. So now these executives are starting to stand back already. Maybe our bandwagon is slowing down. Maybe some of the wheels are starting to fall off of our electric bandwagon. They're going to have to face the facts as time goes on. People aren't magically going to buy these expensive, unproven technology. There's no infrastructure. There's no wires to carry the power. There's no power generating plants to power millions and millions of electric cars. Becoming from the realm of fantasy to reality. Now the realists, even the auto execs, are saying, well, you know, it may not work out like you had it planned. The only guy who ever made sense from the get-go was at a Toyota. He said there's no infrastructure for it. Especially he's in Japan. There isn't extra electricity there. And they're going to have problems there because they're shutting down all their nukes because of the Fukushima. They're worried about nuclear power. Where's the electricity going to come from there? He says there isn't any. They're not pushing it like mad in Japan like they are in some other countries. You know? I mean, China, they're pushing electrification like mad, but realize most of their power comes from burning coal. So is it cleaner? No, it's not cleaner, right? Now, the funny thing I find about all this talk about electric cars, the auto industry as a whole has committed to $526 billion towards electrification. But what does committed mean, you know? It's like Rivian when they said, oh, we're going to be building electric trucks with Mercedes in Europe. And then 3 months later, well, that was just talk. We're not going to be doing it now. This commitment is a bunch of nonsense. Don't listen to any of these giant figures they're throwing out there because it means nothing. The word commitment in these legal terms means absolutely nothing. They're just saying that, yeah, well, we're talking about it. You know, we're talking about it. We want to look green, so yeah, we're committing all these billions of dollars. Does it ever come out? Who knows, right? And here's another one I find even more hilarious. 83% of the auto executives are confident the business will be profitable growth in the next 5 years for electric cars. They're confident about it, right? Hey, I'm not so confident about it. You know, if it doesn't work, well, I guess my confidence was misplaced, you know? I love the words they use when they're talking, you know? I guess they talk to the lawyers before they say anything. What can we say that isn't binding, but it looks good? Yeah, say confident. That's a good word. Sully Salon says, I got a CVT issue. I got a 2015 Altima, 161,000 miles. Since I changed the CVT fluid, it leaked some and I wasn't able to measure. Now, can I remove it and put the right one instead of waiting 30,000 miles? Well, of course you can, but here's the problem, which I show in my videos. If you have a clean transmission that's all dry and not leaking, you can open a drain, you can drain out, you won't get it all out, but you get some out. Then measure that fluid, pump the same amount back in, and it's correct, right? Your problem is this. You don't know how much is leaked out, so you're never going to be able to figure out if there's enough back in. To do that correctly, there is a giant series of process you have to do, and we mechanics have special computers that measure it. Once at a certain temperature level, then we add some more fluid, and then we keep driving until it's just right. If I were you, I would go to a professional mechanic who understands Nissan CVT transmissions and tell them, I want it emptied and I want it filled up to the factory level. You'll pay a little bit for it, but once they leak out, you're just guessing. You can't just drain it out and then put the amount that came out back in, because some leak out and you have no idea how much is leaked out. That's the thing. If it's dry, do it yourself. But if it's wet, you're going to have to pay a mechanic to do it, or you're going to have to read up on it, get a manual, and get some special tools, and that's going to cost you so much money, you're better just paying a mechanic to do the job. Liam Welsh says, my check engine light's on and off randomly. It comes on, it goes off. I got a 2014 Civic, 136,000 miles. Gas mileage is getting worse, and I get a check engine light on, it says check emission system. Turns back off. The next time I start it, doesn't come back for a few months. What should I look for? Realize as long as you haven't disconnected the battery, your computer keeps historical codes. So I advise going to a good mechanic like me at least to get information, because you get a cheap scan tool that costs $80, $100. It isn't going to have all that data. The expensive ones keep all the historical data and we can analyze it all. Something is going on with your emission system. It could be an evap problem like bad gas cap, getting vacuum leaks. Could be your charcoal canister, evap vent valve's gone bad. That's a common thing too. But rather than guessing, you start with the raw data. Get a mechanic to get the raw data on it and start from there. Now you say your gas mileage is getting worse, so if you do have a massive vacuum leak, that'll screw up your gas mileage. So it could easily be your evap canister vent valve, but that's just a guess. You need the information, and we mechanics are computers, they're bidirectional, so we can command the vent to open and to close, and then on the screen it will actually show, did it open, did it close, and then you can see if it's working or not, rather than just saying, well, I'll guess with this part. They're expensive parts, you guess wrong, you wasted money. Have it analyzed first. William says, I got some faded out paint on my car. I'm trying to restore it without having to repaint it. I've seen some of your videos, but can you give me just a summary of what the easiest thing to do is? All right, what you want to do is get a kit that has 3 levels. It'll have coarse, medium, and fine. Buffing compound. There's millions of them out there. Maguire sells one, 3M sells one. There's tons of them. And they all work the same. They're all the same thing. There's rougher, medium, and fine buffing compounds. Pray that buffing it out gets a lot of the fade off. Sometimes it will. Now, if it doesn't, you're going to have to repaint the car. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But if you got a few spots and you can get them buffed really nice like that and they're shiny, then, of course, what you want to do is seal it in. Because if you buff a car and you don't wax it and seal it, it'll just get dull real fast. Then you want to get some really good wax products. Meguiar's makes a whole bunch of great products like that that'll wax and seal. And I would advise waxing it once and then the next week waxing it again just to make sure it's sealed in. And if it's working, don't think it's going to last forever. Then do the wax on your car once every season, so 4 times a year. I'd find it easy to do it in the beginning of spring, the beginning of summer, the beginning of fall, and the beginning of winter. Because, of course, you don't want to do it in the middle of winter. It's too cold outside then, right? But once you seal it in, you got to keep sealing it to keep it from oxidizing again. Pearl Condor says, should I buy this Volkswagen Passat? I'm looking at a 2014 Volkswagen Passat with a turbo diesel. I heard good things about them other than the repairs are costly when it goes out. Now, there's hardly any good cars around that I can find. Should I buy it? And it does have a little body damage. All right, well, here's the thing. Yes, the Volkswagen diesel engines can run a long time. Unfortunately, they are in Volkswagens. They are endless money pits. Otherwise, the transmissions break and cost a fortune. The electronics go out and cost a fortune. And if that thing's got 100-something thousand miles on it, all that stuff is going to start to break down. And if you've never owned a diesel car before, you might not even like it. They're kind of slow, they smell. My advice would be, hey, look for something like a Honda Accord, a Toyota Camry, even a Mazda 6. They're pretty well made. I would never go into the Volkswagen just because the things are just money pits as they age. And yeah, the diesel engines can last, but there's a niche people that want to drive those things. I've got customers that have them. They're into diesels. They learn how to maintain a lot of stuff themselves. They don't mind the slower acceleration. But for, an everyday driver, I'd pass on a Volkswagen. They're just money pits as they age. And that's a more modern one. So it's got all the anti-pollution equipment, and those have to be replaced all the time on Volkswagens. The filters clog up on the exhaust system for the diesel particulate filters, and they cost a fortune. They're not like the really old ones, which were simple with a mechanical injection pump and just an exhaust system, no particulate filter. Now they're too high-tech, and when they age, they're too expensive to repair. Haji says, Scotty, why do people still buy crappy cars from crappy companies? Well, because they're fooled by advertising and sometimes by mindsets based in the past. Just the other day, I had a woman bring me a Volkswagen, and it was a pile of junk, right? I said, did you buy a Volkswagen because your father had a Volkswagen in the 60s? She said, yeah, he loved this Volkswagen. I said, well, the new ones have nothing to do with the old ones. The quality is crap. They're too much high technology. Plastic junk that breaks. Expensive to repair. When the old Volkswagens were easy and cheap, anybody could fix them, right? People get fooled by a name. There's so many people have bought companies over and over again. All they're buying is a name. Take the Ford Mustang, the electric Ford Mustang, right? It's an electric SUV that has nothing to do with the history of Mustangs, but they used the name. Down the road it goes. It's now an electric SUV. It has nothing to do with Mustang, but people get that image in their head, I got a Mustang. And of course, they're all sheep, so GM just says they're going to make electric Camaros now, and they'll be electric cars. They have nothing to do with the gasoline race car Camaros, but they're going to use the name, and it's going to be an electric SUV, just like the Mustang. They're like cheap following sheep. It's just how it goes in the auto industry. And unfortunately, the people that buy them, they're often sheep too. And they just follow along and they don't know enough. That's why I'm here, to give people knowledge, to keep people from buying the wrong vehicle. Because I have no vested interest. I don't make cars. I don't sell cars to people. I tell them the truth about cars. I have no interest in selling them anything other than giving information to help everybody out so they don't get ripped off. I hate being ripped off. I hate when other people get ripped off. So here I am. So people, if you listen to my videos, maybe you won't buy a crappy car. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.